This is the November Plan with me, and my Flower of the World theme this month is the poppy from Poland. I've got a brand new weekly layout and a flower market poster themed cover page that I can't wait to share. Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back. My name is Shayda Campbell, and on this channel we make art together. It's time for our November Bujo spread, and my theme for my planner this year is Flowers of the World. So for October we were doing hibiscus from Hawaii, USA, and we did this kind of fun, spooky yet floral spread. And I did a nice Dutch door weekly layout, a large calendar page. I am going to switch up my weekly layout this month, even though I love this one, just for something fresh and new. And our flower this month is the poppy from Poland. I thought it would be nice to do poppies for November as a symbol of remembrance. And the cover page that I have worked out is not a Dutch door. If you've been here a minute, you know I love a Dutch door cover. This one is a beautiful image that is centered on the page. I'm basing the image on those flower market posters. If you've ever seen those, they're very graphic and it's a really simple yet effective design. Now, what you're going to do is lay down a nice big wash or rectangle of color. And for this, you want to use an alcohol-based marker if you have one. So not a water-based or India ink like the ones I typically reach for in my journal, but alcohol, because it gives a nice even area of color. And I've used a light pink. And here's the catch. Alcohol does bleed through the page. So you'll see on the other side, a lot has come through. That's okay. We'll cover it up later. If you only have water-based, that's fine. Or you could use a piece of pink paper. Step 2 in our cover page design is to add a border, and I'm using a ruler, which is very unlike me. I'm all about the rulers today. And it just gives it a nice white margin. I made it a little thicker at the bottom to give that flower market poster look. Now, I want to write November here at the bottom, and instead of just marking center, I find it's actually easier to mark where you want the word to start and end. So come in 3 or 4 squares on both sides, and then you know you need to stretch the word November from one side to the other. Once that's done, we'll use our pencil again to place circles everywhere that we want a poppy to sit, and then we can also sketch in the stem. So just starting with a little bit of a guide, like just putting circles there and maybe a few lines where the leaves and stems are, that really sets you up for success. Now the fun part, we get to draw all these flowers, and I'm going to let you in on a little hint. The poppies are basically just red blobs. You can sketch the way I did, where I kind of drew the center and then 4 petals going around, but you can also just make them ovals or weird messy shapes, because once you put that black oval in the center, they're going to look like poppies. Like that one there, I just basically did a big scribbly blob, and it's going to work out and look great. In fact, the messier and more simplistic they are, the more it's going to look like that graphic kind of pop art. And I should mention, I used cherry red for the poppies, but you could use any burgundy, dark pink, whatever, because once you put that black circle here, just grab a black brush pen or fine liner, and we're going to do kind of a messy spiral or a sort of an imperfect oval, and we're going to place that either center or low center on each flower, and that really says to your viewer or to you, this is a poppy. Now the next step, this is fun. You get to put in all the stems and leaves, and we've already sketched them in pencil, and I chose to do mine in dark blue. So think outside the box. You don't have to use green. I think the stems would look great in gray, maybe black, a minty green, or even an orange or something like that. And as you draw these stems, just think about making them very organic. So instead of starting right underneath your poppy, start over to the left or right a little and make that stem all wiggly and squiggly, and it's going to look so great. It just adds a lot of movement and motion to the poster. And finally, we'll place some shaggy blue leaves, and that's really all there is to this cover page. as I always say, it's good bang for your buck. I love a design that is simple and achievable because we're all busy and some of us don't feel confident when we sit down to draw. So a design like this one makes you look like you really know what you're doing. You have something that you can feel proud of, and it's simple, simple, simple. You can do it in the time it takes you to like watch a fun show on Netflix or listen to a podcast. As you add the stems, you may feel like, oh, I need one more flower over here, and that's exactly what I did. Placed one up at the top left, and then we're pretty much finished. I'm going to use a larger nibbed fine liner. So this is the 1 millimeter, not 0.1, but 1 millimeter for a nice chunky, simple print for my month title. And that is our cover page complete. She looks so pretty. We do end up with this big swath of color on the back because you get bleed through with alcohol-based markers, even in a good quality journal like the Archer and Olive. So that's a simple fix. You could tape some pages together, or like I'm doing here, I'm just going to take a piece of pink paper. You could use any color of cut paper, glue it in, give yourself a nice block of color. It makes a really nice area for you to create a simple but very striking illustration. And I'm going to walk you through this illustration, of course. And you won't be surprised to learn that it starts with a guide. I rarely sit down and just draw. I like to begin by setting up kind of a map for my drawing. And I do that for a floral by simply placing circles. And the circles show me where all the poppies or flowers will sit and what size they're going to be. Of course, I can sketch in the little wibbly wobbly stems, maybe place some lines indicating the leaves. And then I put circles where the center of the flower will sit. A low circle makes the bottom petal very thin, and that gives the look of a concave flower that's kind of blooming upwards and outwards. Stamen or center of the flower placed right at dead center is going to make the flower just look like it's really flat, which is fine. I've done a bit of both on this illustration. And then once I place all the petals, then I go around and I kind of shape them, give them a little bit of a ruffly edge, and I add details like the stamen at the center. That's a really quick rundown of how I approach a floral illustration. I'm going to link a video showing you how I approach layout and design and all of those things, because I do have lots of videos on floral illustration, just how to draw the flowers, and I'll link those videos too, so no worries. But I do still get a lot of questions like, I don't know how to place flowers together on the page, or I don't know how to make them look like they're in bloom, or how to give them that little bit of motion and depth. So check out the videos in the description below. I think you'll find them very, very helpful because I do have tons of content. Actually, I have over 500 videos now, which is crazy. I'm so proud of the content on this channel, and I'm really proud that it's all free and it's there for you to enjoy and learn from anytime you want. And the only thing that I would ask, I do have a little ask in return, if you could hit the subscribe button. It makes such a huge difference to me, and I am so close. Like, I'm this close, you guys, to hitting 1 million, and it's just a personal goal. I really want to get there, so please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Okay, what I've done here is gone over my floral illustration in pen. I used the 0.7 millimeter nib in the mulatto black liner. That gave me a nice weighty, very high contrast contour drawing. And then I switched to a smaller nib fine liner. So this is the 0.2 millimeter. And I'm just adding a lot of lines to the petals on the poppies. The lines kind of fan out from the center, helping to give shape to each petal and to the flower overall. So really simple technique, adding those lines. It just gives so much detail, but it's fairly easy to do. And then I've shaded the stems and leaves, just actually with a lot of scribbles. Finally, I finished my illustration with a quote. It's so nice to have something meaningful in there to inspire you all month long. And this is a quote from the Buddha that reads, "There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path." So typically what I do is I have a cover page, and then on the next page, right after the cover, I do kind of a month at a glance where I just like to write a few goals and affirmations for the month ahead. So I've got this nice little quote and illustration on the left. I kind of want to mirror some of those flowers over here on the right, but I don't want to put as many because I want to have space just to basically write out my goals and affirmation. So I'm going to do the poppies the same way. I'm not going to focus on that as much because I don't want to bore you guys, but start with a guide, then place your stamen, place your petals, go over it in fine liner, do your contour drawing, and then you can add as much or as little line shading as you like. And for goals and affirmations, I just write goals and focus, and it's not really where I do it like a to-do list. I always have a ton of to-do lists on the go, but those are more on my weekly layouts. This is just where I kind of set some intentions for the month, and I have larger goals like something like reading in the evenings, watching less television, or getting out for a walk in the mornings, that kind of thing. So those are the intentions I like to set. And then I have affirmations like you're doing a great job as a mom, or I am doing well mentally. I find writing things down, it's just so powerful for me. It feels like real life magic. I've written down things that at the time felt completely impossible. And when I go back and look at some of my older affirmations, I just think, wow, I've come so far. Like when I first wrote that I wanted to drive a car and own a car, I didn't have my license, couldn't imagine saving enough money to buy even a used car. And over the years, that affirmation became true. But truly, when I wrote it down, it felt completely insurmountable. At the time I wrote it, it felt like I was writing, I want to ride around town on a dragon. It seemed that far-fetched. So I'm always amazed at the power of intention and writing those intentions down. That's my cover page and my month at a glance. Let's flip over and we're going to do a calendar spread that you'll recognize if you're following along each month. We're going to do another big, colorful pattern page. I love these. They're a lot of fun and they're very simple to create. So let's begin. I'll grab my fine liner. For the calendar lines, I like to use something a little larger, like a 0.7 or 0.9 millimeter nib, and I've sketched it out in pencil. Really nice, simple calendar that just takes up the majority of the right-hand page. And as usual, I'm avoiding my rulers. That's a little more me, and I'm just pulling that pen towards my body to help me keep it steady so that the lines are straight but not too straight. Once that's done, all the boring stuff, we're going to get those markers back out. For this one, I'm using my cherry red, black, and blue, just like I did for the cover page, but I'm going to use pink as well, which I did on the cover, but this time not the alcohol-based marker, and this time I'll be using the pink that was part of the color palette for just another poppy. So I'm doing red and pink flowers, and we're going to just place a bunch of flowers all over the entirety of the 2-page spread. And you want to do a couple that are kind of peeking out from behind the calendar and a couple more that are maybe going off the edge of the page. Group some together, have some by themselves. Honestly, you don't have to think about it that much. If you fill in both pages with red and pink flowers, it's gonna look great. Or you could expand your color palette and do some burgundy or a nice warm, like kind of orangey red. Have fun with it, go nuts. Make sure you just make them messy and blob-like, and then go in with that black marker and do the circle or oval. And I promise you, even the weirdest of blobs will look like flowers. Next up, we're going to add the dark blue stems and leaves. And this is just as straightforward as adding those flowers. You're going to give some of them stems, place a couple shaggy leaves. Some of them can just have leaves, and not even every flower does not need to connect to a stem or a leaf. Just some of them do, and that is going to really give our pattern a little bit more. It's going to anchor the flowers, and I think adding the blue or adding a cool color really just helps bring the whole thing to life and make it pop. So again, don't overthink it, have fun, add your blue flowers and stems, and that's all there is to it. We've created a big, bright, graphic poppy pattern. Literally, it's poppies. Okay, I do have some fun news for you, friends. This month, I've been using my planner a ton because I've been very busy, and I have been so busy because I've been creating, filming, and finishing my second watercolor e-course. It's been a long time coming. I've put a ton of work into it, so if you're also here for watercolor content on top of the planning and illustrating, get excited because a new e-course is coming, and it's all about flowers this time, and I can't wait for you to see it. It's so good. That's all I'll say for now. My poppy pattern is looking good. What I want to do is take some more of that pink paper, or it could be a different paper. I'm just going to rip a little rectangle. You can use a ruler to do that and give yourself a nice ripped edge. And then we'll take a glue stick and we'll just glue that right on top of the pattern. It's a nice way to put the month title, and you don't have to think about it. You can just enjoy creating this big pattern, and then you put the title in afterwards. So that's that. Our calendar spread is complete, and all we need to do now to complete our monthly setup is add a weekly layout, a new weekly layout. And the new weekly layout begins with a guide. So I've set everything up in pencil, and I've begun by making a large rectangle right in the center margin. So I've come out 6 squares on each side of the center line, made a big rectangle, and then placed a really thin, long rectangle right over top. And it sits out about 2 squares farther than that large rectangle. That's where the title will sit, or the week, week of November, whatever. I've also placed a bunch of circles right around that rectangle, and those are just a nice big cluster of flowers. You can see the little leaves I've put in there as well, and we're going to sketch them all in with pencil. And I've also sketched in a little calendar right on the bottom right, and then once everything has been done in pencil, we'll go over all of it in pen. So go ahead and sketch in some flowers. Once you've placed the circle, it's really easy to just make these big, simple 4-petal flowers. Remember, check the video description for playlists on floral illustration and design. And then once you've done the guide in pencil, we're going to go over everything with a fine liner. So I believe I'm using the 0.7 millimeter nib. I'm going over the large rectangle in the center. And actually, this spread is all about rectangles. So I'm also making a rectangle where the calendar will sit. I'm placing a rectangle at center for the November title. And finally, I'm doing these really long, thin rectangles, 6 of them, where each day of the week will be. I just combine Saturday and Sunday, so it gives me an even number. I'm going to complete the contour drawing here and just go over all of the flowers. Remember, check the video description for that playlist on how to draw flowers. So many flowers we've drawn over the years. And if you don't have time to do an illustration, just do those red and pink blobs that we used on the calendar spread, and it will take all of 10 seconds for you to fill in this space. I'm framing my florals with lots and lots of little leaves. It's a very simple thing I can do to make the illustration appear very detailed. I'm going to go over the calendar here, and that is the basics of this weekly layout. It gives me lots of space for notes and to-do lists in the margin, and it gives me a really good amount of space as well for each day of the week to put all my notes and to-do lists there, because I'm a to-do list junkie. I filled in that middle section in black. You can do that with a fine liner or a brush pen. We'll get rid of all the pencil marks, clean everything up, and then at that point you can add some line shading with pen. You can add some color if you prefer to color in these flowers with marker or pencil crayon, colored pencil as you call it in the US. What I'm going to do is go heavy on the line shading. That's kind of just my style. I like doing line shading. I find it very relaxing because at this point your illustration is done and you're not going to really mess it up. So you can just have fun, listen to your podcast or music, and add as many lines, little tiny lines as you like. It looks detailed and it's easy to do, and you can really relax and get lost in that step. Okay, I will finish this up by writing November 2nd to 6th. That's the week in the center here. I just do it in pencil first. You can see pencil on top of the black, even though it's light, and then I go over it with my white gel pen. This is my favorite white gel pen. Remember, all of the supplies are linked in the video description. Shopping those Amazon links is a great way to support the channel if you need art supplies. And finally, we need to just add a little bit of that warm gray. Wouldn't be a Shayda Campbell spread if we didn't have some warm gray somewhere. So there we go. I filled in the days of the week and the calendar. And that is my new weekly spread all done. Thank you guys so much for following along with me today. Let's do a quick flip through. We did this graphic flower market poster inspired cover page for the poppy from Poland. When we flip over, we have our month at a glance, a nice illustrated page with an inspirational quote and our goals and affirmations, our big graphic calendar page with the all over pattern, so much pattern, and then we finished everything up with a simple but effective weekly layout. Friends, just a reminder that if you're a patron of this channel, you can print my cover page. That's available for you to print and use in your own planner. To support the channel on Patreon, head over there, patreon.com/Shayda Campbell. It's only $2 for the month or $22 for the year. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you soon.